Hello and welcome to another episode of the Jersey Nerds podcast, recorded for your socially distanced listening pleasure. Chris here. We're here today with Hunter. Hunter, how you doing today?
Good, Chris. How's it going for you?
It's going all right. And we're also joined today, once again, by Bpoe. Bpoe, what are you up to? Did we lose Bpoe?
Bpoe is up to a whole lot of nothing.
Apparently. Where did he go?
Uh-oh.
We might need to do that again.
Hello? There we go. I pressed the... Okay, I'm not using the button on the mic anymore because apparently that's not reliable. I'm just going to press the mute button in the browser now.
Okay, we good to try again?
Not that button anymore. Yep, I'm good.
Alright, let's try it. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Jersey Nerds podcast, recorded for your socially distanced listening pleasure today. Today on the podcast, we're going to be touching on a number of different things. We're going to speculate about the new expansion Toronto NWHL team, continuing our NHL Team Rundown series, going through the best and worst of every franchise's uniform history. We're going through the Atlanta Thrashers, Nashville Predators, and Carolina Hurricanes today. And we're going to give some quick thoughts on some recent NFL uniform designs for Cleveland, for New England, and for the LA Chargers. I am Chris. Joining me today, we got Hunter. What's up, Hunter?
Not a whole bunch. What's going on with you, Chris?
And not a whole bunch either. And then we're also joined today by Bpoe. What's Bpoe up to today?
Just recording a podcast, Chris, and not muted this time.
There you go.
Yeah, it's great to know we can hear you. It's so weird how whenever we're recording a podcast, you also seem to be recording a podcast.
I know. What a crazy coincidence.
Crazy indeed.
One of life's unanswered questions right there.
And that's probably the biggest question that's unanswered in life. I mean, who needs to know how we end this pandemic? We need to know, why is Bpoe always recording a podcast?
24/7, 365.
It stands right along with the age-old question of the meaning of life.
Meaning of life is Bpoe's recording a podcast.
The meaning of life is to record podcasts. That must explain why everybody's doing it now.
That might explain, yeah.
I can't disagree with that. I have no evidence against it.
I know I'm partially making fun of ourselves right now, but that's what I do best. But it just really everybody and their mother are the podcast nowadays. But honestly, that's not a bad thing, you know? Get your words out there, and whoever wants to listen to it.
Yeah, everyone, have good words. And thank you for listening to our decent words as well. Okay, let's dive right in and talk about the new expansion NWHL Toronto team. Of course, there's no name yet. There's nothing really known about that, other than the fact that they're going to be an NWHL team in Toronto. There's a logo they have been using just to start off. It's basically a white circle with a red outline. It says NWHL in black with 4 stars above it, and it has Toronto in red with a little maple leaf in the middle. So now, given my initial thoughts, looking at the jerseys that we've seen in the NWHL, because if I'm not mistaken, the way their system works is every team only has one jersey. And looking at all the colors we see here, we got Buffalo is light blue, Boston golden, kind of yellow and black. Is it? It's the Metropolitan Riveters now, or is it the New York Riveters? I always forget which one it is now. But anyway, they're white and dark blue with a little red. Connecticut Whale, green and blue, and then the Minnesota, mostly black with some blue on it. Based on what they've used and based on the colors that Toronto's used so far, anyone disagree with me when I say they're probably going to have a red jersey?
Yeah, I find it very unlikely that they would go with 2 white jerseys. And with the severe lack of red outside of the accent colors on the Riveters jerseys, it probably makes sense for them to just have a straight-up red jersey.
The tough part for me about that, though, is, I mean, I don't know if you guys remember, I believe it was 2015, the Color Rush NFL game between, I think it was the Bills and the Jets, where they were wearing red and green, and for colorblind people, it was a blob of gray. The jerseys look exactly the same. That's the one kind of road bump I'd think they'd run into doing a red jersey with that Connecticut whale green jersey. But that green is very light, so I don't know if that would be a difference in value there and make things work out better.
Mm-hmm. And it's
Because
also,
other than that, red jersey seems like a perfectly reasonable conclusion.
yeah, I agree with that. Another thing to point out is that NWHL jerseys, sometimes they'll change from season to season. Sometimes the jersey will be carried over for a few seasons. As far as I know, not exactly a diehard of that league, but it's I like it and I want to get more into it, but haven't yet. So some other teams could be changing their jerseys a little bit to try to make it a little easier to see differentiate teams on the ice. But it's hard to say at this point. It's also worth noting, this team doesn't have a name yet. Anybody got any quick off the top of their head ideas for what?
So I saw that the team is actually taking input from the fans for the team name and jerseys. So I actually sent in 3 suggestions.
Well, look at you.
Yeah, I know, jumping the gun a little bit, like I got right on it. But I looked through their the Toronto professional sports history's past, especially for women's hockey. The Toronto actually used to have an NWHL team called the Arrows.
And the old NWHL.
Yeah,
right?
The old NWHL, exactly. So, you throw things like that out there, it's simple for them to just bring something like that back. Nostalgia is really big right now, so I wouldn't see why that would be a bad idea. So there was the Arrows. Lots of people I've seen on Twitter have been petitioning for them to bring back the Furies name from the CWHL before that folded. And yeah, as in anything original, I couldn't really come up with anything like that. Toronto's really big on the whole North motif, so maybe something like the North Stars or something like that. But they might run into some problems with that one.
I've definitely seen some North Stars ideas thrown out there, and I'm also personally terrible with naming teams, so I don't have any original suggestions of our own. But on Twitter, one of our followers, I don't know if he listens to the podcast or not. It's at From Tape to Tape. A couple weeks or so ago, he tweeted or tagged us in one of his concepts for the team, the Toronto Queens. And personally, I liked it a lot. I responded to them and gave them a little bit of feedback. But especially the script logo that was created for it, I really like that script logo a lot. The concept uses a blue and gold rather than red. But honestly, I think that would look pretty nice in red too, if that's what we're speculating on. And I think that Queen's name, I'm honestly a pretty big fan of that one. I think it would work well.
Yeah, it's always interesting with expansion teams going into places that have already had teams, whether they choose to go with something entirely new or whether they choose to go with something that already existed that people are fond of. It's hard to say, how well received something will be if it's new. But then again, if you just recycle something old, people might be tired of that as well.
With Winnipeg, whenever they moved from Atlanta back to Winnipeg, I know the fans were clamoring for the Jets, but was that before anything came out about a name, or was that after they already were all right, we're gonna name us something else, and then the fans were no, Jets, please? Do you guys remember?
I do not.
Yeah, I can't really remember how that played out. I remember the Jets name was obviously the first one put to the table whenever they said they were bringing the team back to Winnipeg, but I don't really know if they actually ever considered anything else.
All I think I remember, I don't remember much from the time because I was still fairly young at that point, and I wasn't really in the jerseys this way, but I just think I remembered hearing about all of the fans really wanting the Jets name to come back.
Yeah, I don't see why they wouldn't want that.
Let's say, regardless of whether they were going to go with that or not in the first place.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the Winnipeg Jets had a huge history there. I'm not sure if there have been any Toronto women's hockey teams that really left a huge lasting impact. I haven't done a ton of research on that. But it will be interesting to see whatever direction they end up going and whenever that happens. Okay, yeah. Well, speaking of the former Atlanta Thrashers, I think if you guys are okay, I think we'll move on to the NHL Team Rundowns we've been doing.
For sure.
And we will start with the former Winnipeg Jets. I guess you could call them that. I don't know anymore. Anyway, we're going with the Atlanta Thrashers today. Starting off with them, we've been going in chronological order. So we're on the Thrashers that began play in 1999. I don't know. To me, this feels like one of the teams that doesn't exist anymore, but that's still, somewhat. I don't want to say relevant, but it's one of those brands that people haven't completely forgotten about. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, that people definitely we're stuck in a kind of weird in between time where people still kind of remember the Thrashers. It's funny, they're doing, a lot of people during quarantine have been doing like the all time lineups, and I've seen a lot of people arguing on whether the Jets should be able to include former Thrashers players as part of their all time lineups. And then comparing that to the Coyotes and the original Winnipeg Jets, or did the Jets just include just people that played for the Winnipeg Jets brand kind of thing? So I've seen
noted Winnipeg Jet Ilya Kovalchuk.
Yeah, exactly. so
it's
like noted Arizona Coyote Pavel Datsyuk.
Exactly. Like that, and that's an argument that people bring up. Like TSN did their top teams for like all 7 Canadian teams, and if you look at theirs for Winnipeg, they didn't put Kovalchuk on, but they put Marian Hossa on, and they point out that he played really well for Atlanta, but he never played for the Jets. And it's like, well, then why wouldn't you put Kovalchuk on at that point? You're already in the hole. But they had a whole list of other rules and stuff that they were trying to follow. Like they were required to have like a third line kind of thing where they couldn't just put all-star players, and they had to stick to their positions. So like you couldn't put a center on the wing or something like that. But it's pretty interesting stuff.
The Penguins would beg to differ that you can't put a center on the wing. Half of our wings were centers at some point.
I feel like that happens a lot more nowadays, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure Gensel used to be a center, Rust, McCann, and that's just the 3 that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But I digress. That's off topic.
Yeah, off topic's not the worst thing, but let's get back to the Atlanta Thrashers. We're in the league from 99 until technically 2011. I always thought they had a really interesting color scheme. They use variations of navy with a red, kind of a golden yellow. Sometimes this kind of brownish orange accent, and other times light blue would become the primary. Anyway, let's get everyone's thoughts on what your favorite uniform for the Atlanta Thrashers was.
Looking at it now, I've always been kind of a fan of their light blue jerseys. I know that lots of people don't like them because they're not symmetrical whatsoever. But I've always kind of find it kind of unique and interesting having that one sleeve with the Atlanta down it. I did not really like the way they changed those jerseys when Reebok took over with the edge out lane, like the edge designs. But that's still kind of been a favorite of mine throughout their history.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with Hunter on that one, that's their best jersey. And again, also agree that the pre-edge version is the best one. I think that, it could use something on the other side just a little bit to kind of balance it out. But I think the kind of asymmetrical nature of it isn't too extreme. But, it's very fitting for a team that was as young as they were to kind of pull out something new. And I think it worked pretty well for them. And I'm pretty sure it's still a fairly popular collector's item among jersey collectors. I have one myself, I know that much. So I guess it worked out, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, with that light blue jersey, I really love the colors on it. I think it was probably their best uniform as a whole. But the asymmetricalness of it really bugs me to the point where I think I might go with their original 99 to 07 white jersey as their best jersey. Because they did a good job balancing the colors on that one. Not even bothering with the light blue because that wasn't really one of their main colors back when it was unveiled. Yeah, but overall, I think we can agree that everything pre-Reebok Edge for them was better than everything post.
100%.
Yeah. With that, let's go into what is your least favorite uniform jersey for the Atlanta Thrashers.
Well, oh boy, I wonder what that's going to be.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll start by saying if you pick anything other than their Reebok Edge alternate, you're wrong, and I hate you.
Sean would like to have some words.
Oh man, like
Give us some words.
I think he did.
Yeah,
Sean
no,
always liked weird jerseys. I know he. I don't understand. He's always liked really weird jerseys.
yeah. Sean's
And he's
really big on the '90s jerseys.
he's very big on black jerseys as well for some reason. For those of you who may be new listeners, Sean is a writer on our site. He's currently kind of not around because he works at a grocery store, and it's mid-pandemic, so understandably very busy. But he's been a writer since day one, and he was a podcaster on the other version of this podcast, the original iteration of it. So, yep. That's Sean.
Yeah. No,
great backstory.
I feel like I could be in the same boat, honestly. Like, I have a lot of jerseys that are like those original third jerseys in the 90s. They're bright, they're loud, they're kind of ugly, but they have like a cult following. But this Thrashers alternate is just something else. Like, I don't know what to think of it. Even looking back on it now, those shoulder patches are just disgusting. And I'm never a huge fan of the jerseys that do the numbers right down in the middle like that. Like this one, the Islanders black third jersey that they had. Like, I don't like it.
It took me until now to realize it, but the vibe that this, dark red, whatever jersey gives off, it gives me Harry Potter vibes.
Some Gryffindor.
Just something, yeah, I mean, it's worse than that. Just kind of generic. It's just the weird, that word mark definitely feels very, just the word mark across the front of the jersey feels like that to me. Just the combination of the colors.
It's kind of funny because the word mark looks kind of out of place with the rest of the jersey to me. Like, it doesn't look like it fits in other than just the little bit of accents of yellow around the jersey.
I don't think anything fits in here.
No,
Bpoe, your thoughts?
I mean, just to start off, this is 100% my pick for the worst one. But looking at it, like,
I just assume that.
Looking at it more deeply, I don't hate the elements of it. Like, that arm pattern could be interesting. The side panel pattern could be interesting, but the way that they work together just don't work well. Because for one, you've got the blue on the side panels that you don't got on the arms. I mean, obviously the word mark and number on the front instead of a logo and those shoulder patches. But I think the worst part of this jersey has got to be those socks.
Oh.
I just noticed those again now. What is going on there? Like, I knew the socks are bad, but just looking at it again, what is that? What is happening?
Yeah, I mean, what amazes me about the time that they had this red alternate jersey was that between all three of their jerseys, they had the light blue home, that alternate, and the white away. Nothing matches between any of these jerseys. The stock stripes don't match. Whatever's on the sleeves doesn't match. It's just amazing the level of inconsistency in this uniform set.
From the looks of it, the only thing that did match was the pants because they wore the same ones for all three shirts.
Yeah, they happen to have the same logo on the home and the away. Yeah, good job there.
Yeah.
The Carolina Hurricanes think that they're going to claim the crown as the first ones to do the inconsistent jerseys. Nah, look at the Atlanta Thrashers.
Yeah.
Although at least the Hurricanes seem to be doing it intentionally. But we'll get to them because they are on our plans for today.
They are.
Ooh, foreshadowing.
I'll talk about them more later instead of getting into that now.
Yeah. Anyway, we all agree that's definitely their worst jersey, worst uniform. And anything you would have liked to see from the Thrashers? Any ideals they never did that you would have loved to have seen?
I think they had something going with that pre-edge blue set. The pre-edge, was that just an alternate? Oh yeah, no, they moved it to their home eventually. But I think they had something going there where they could have built off of that. Maybe not exactly like that, because like I mentioned, the asymmetrical nature is a little bit too much. I think they still could use something on the other side to balance it. But I think they definitely had something going there because that color scheme was nice and they had a unique element in there that nobody...
Yeah, I'd have to agree there. Looking at this third jersey, like I feel like part of me feels like there's something they could have brought from this jersey and taken advantage of, but like just what they did is just not it. But yeah, like I feel like if they took a little more of the elements from that light blue jersey and brought it into their home jersey, I think that they could have had a pretty nice set, at least for the home and away. The alternate, I think they should have scrapped and started something else. Although I do like the red color that they picked. I will say that. I feel like that makes a good alternate.
Yeah, looking at their all their different uniform sets, I honestly think their inaugural set, just the navy home and the navy away, I guess it was then, and the white home jersey. I think that's the best set. It would have been great to see, the light blue that came in later integrated into that somehow. Although it's hard to balance all those colors, but at least on these two jerseys and uniforms, the sock striping was consistent. They had the same design on the home and the away, shoulders down the sleeves, and as long as if they had the same logo on both the jerseys, I think it'd be a really solid set. But of course, throwing the light blue in there was kind of a game changer. I think it was a really nice element. But they never got it quite right, with that alternate jersey, the asymmetrical and changing the striping. It's just, it's hard to see it as a good set as a whole. So that's my 2 cents there.
Unrelated too, but since we were talking about sock striping, remember back in the early Reebok Edge days where a couple teams had sock stripes that like curved into the back of your skates, like right to the Achilles heel?
Yeah, the Sens had those for like the first year of the Reebok jerseys and then changed it immediately.
Yeah, the Sens and the Lightning it was.
Yeah.
I believe it was just those two. I don't know if anybody else did it. Those are the only two that I can remember off the top of my head.
Yeah.
That was sure something, though. Oh, Calgary looks like had that, too. Or did theirs curve all the way in? Just looking at NHL uniforms, they look curved, but I don't know if they curved all the way back into the skate.
I don't think so, but they might have. Yeah, they had the same setup for like that one season, and then they changed it. Oh, maybe not until 2009, I guess.
Okay, it looks like they did change it at some point, but I do see some curved stripes on here. So,
Yeah.
What a time.
Yeah, there have been some really interesting quirks throughout history. It's
Yeah, I don't know. I never hated that pattern of style, or that style of pattern for the socks. Like I thought it was kind of interesting, but like, the Sens, the way they did it, they only had 3 colors on their socks, so it was simple and just kind of looked kind of neat, but it didn't follow with anything else on their jersey, right? Because they don't really have much of a striping pattern.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad they changed it, but I'm also glad they tried it, and see how it looks.
Yeah, trying out weird things isn't always bad, unless you're the Atlanta Thrashers' final alternate jersey.
Yeah.
as we've established.
Or Tampa's current alternate jersey.
Yeah, let's not talk about that if we can help it.
Let's not bring up these repressed memories right now. Hockey's not going on. We kind of forgot about that. Let's not bring that up right now.
We'll get to Tampa. Don't worry.
No, we definitely will. Yeah, but anyway, my overall thoughts on Atlanta. I think they had some really good things going, had some good color schemes. It just never completely came together for them. And when it went to the Reebok Edge template, it just went down the drain.
So the same as their franchise as a whole. They had some good pieces. They just never got it together, and then they moved to Winnipeg. Bye.
So be it. That's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's enough on Atlanta. Let's go to the other team that started play in 1999 but still exists today. Amazing. And that would be the Nashville Predators. Quick things on the Predators. They started off mostly navy with some gray and yellow accents. They had a few different iterations of that before. That's starting in 98, 99, whatever. And coming over to the 2011 season, they switched to yellow as the primary color with navy to complement that. And they've had a couple iterations of that since then. So let's everybody start off with your favorite uniform for the Nashville Predators.
I think I'll go with their Reebok Edge yellow jersey, and specifically the one with the yellow helmet, because looking back at the pictures, like with the blue helmet, I don't like it at all. I think the yellow helmet fits great. Um, I don't dislike the current set as much as everybody else does, but I still don't think it's better than what they had with Reebok Edge. And with that one, I mean, a lot of people don't mind the piping. I still don't like it very much, but it's probably one of the best executions of it. But even then, I'd still remove it. But that's definitely their best jersey, if you ask me, because it kind of is their color. They definitely own it as a primary color in the NHL right now, and they embrace it, and it worked well.
Yeah, it's a tough one for me because I agree the yellow jerseys before their recent changeover to the Adidas jerseys were really nice. Like I like them. They have a good layout. They're pretty consistent across the board. I've never been a huge fan of the piping, so like if I could take the one thing away, it'd probably be that. But there's also a part of me that loves their mustard tiger jerseys because those are dope. I love those jerseys. I know people hate them. Some people hate them. Some people love them. Uh, but I've always been a huge fan of those ones. I'd probably have to go with those guys.
Something tells me we'll talk about that jersey more in a couple minutes.
I bet.
But I'm going to agree with Bpoe and say that their yellow jersey with the gold jersey, whatever you want to call it, yellow gold, athletic gold. That jersey with the gold helmet, which they only had for one season, the season they made their Stanley Cup final run. I think that's the best looking uniform that they had and the best looking set that they had. It's funny, you got used to the Navy helmet, from 2011 to 2016. And then, you hear they're going to a gold helmet. You're just like, oh my gosh, isn't that too much gold? But then, seeing it on the ice, it worked really well. It's kind of hard to pull off that color helmet, but I think they owned it. Okay, then. Everybody, move on to your least favorite uniform for the Nashville Predators.
This one's a bit tough for me because their inaugural uniforms and the Reebok Edge versions of them, none of them are particularly great, but none of them have too many particular elements that stand out as the worst among that bunch. The Mustard Cat, Chris, you said that we might mention that. I'm not going to have it in my worst because I think it has some good elements in there. I think honestly, it's mainly just the color and the armpit stains that I don't like about it. But I think for my worst, I'm going to go with the Reebok Edge, the original white one, because that gray, there's just not much going on with it. It's just plain gray. It's not like shiny or anything like that. There's nothing exciting there. And plus, the navy blue, there's nothing special about that. In some lighting, it might look like black. It's just boring. There's just nothing exciting about it. And there's a lot less exciting about or going on than any other jersey that I mentioned, like the other inaugural ones and stuff. So I think I'm going to have to go with that one. There's just not enough going on for me.
Yeah, for me, like, I don't hate their inaugural ones. I feel like they are kind of busy in terms of like the elements that they have going. But my least favorite probably is going to be their Navy alternate from 2009 to 2011. I don't know. After seeing the team with the kind of like branding and like style that they had go to something so simple and something with that checkerboard pattern and the stripes, I was just never really a huge fan of that jersey. I like the yellow that they had as part of their color scheme, and then to have a jersey that was literally just navy and white seemed a bit of a shock to me, I guess. So that's probably my least favorite.
Yeah, for the first decade and change of their existence, Nashville really, they didn't have a ton going on. Like, they were, trying to balance out navy with yellow with gray. And so if you'd ask me, what's your least favorite jersey, my mind immediately goes to the Mustard Cat. But like as I look at it more closely, There are some interesting elements of that. The use of silver and white accents along with navy. Of course, as we mentioned, the armpit stains aren't great, and even with their, inaugural, uh, navy jersey and the white jersey, that sleeve shoulder striping is unique, something we've never seen before, and it wasn't all that bad. Um, so looking at these more closely, I will. Part of me wants to say the same as Hunter, that Navy alternate jersey. It's just so boring, doesn't fit, it's not our brand. But I think I will instead agree with Bpoe and go with that white Reebok Edge jersey that just has, way too much silver on it, and a really poor balance between all the colors going on. It's like they couldn't decide what their colors really were. Are we navy and yellow, or are we navy and silver? And there's a ton of white happening even on the home jersey. And there was just a lot going on before 2011 for them. So that's what I have to say about them.
I also feel like we need to bring up to the glow up that their logo had. Incredible, because that inaugural logo was god awful. And even back whenever I was a kid, before I knew anything about design or had any interest in it, I hated that logo. And the fact that they were able to take that and just modernize it and make it into an actually pretty good logo is honestly a pretty insane feat.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think just their jersey crests in general got a major upgrade when they switched their color scheme around a bit, because the Reebok Edge era, they had their at least the initial Reebok Edge jerseys. The home jersey had the crest with a yellow outline. The away jersey had it without that outline in a triangle with the word Nashville above it. So a lot of inconsistency there. And so when they switched to the the yellow jersey, they definitely fixed that logo. It looks a lot cleaner. Looks a lot nicer. Maybe a little fiercer and less like it's chrome or whatever. Yeah, so I completely agree there.
Yeah, they did a really good job looking at improving the logo when they changed their color scheme. But I'll tell you two things. One, I have the mustard cat hanging in my closet. The one downside for me is the weird way that Coho did the collar on it, where they have that straight bar across. It hangs really weird. And that'd be the one downside that I'd have for that jersey. Outside of that, I love that jersey, but that's just me. I know it's a very controversial topic, as is most '90s third jerseys, or early.
It wasn't even '90s,
early 2000s. Sorry,
no, but
it feels like it could have been a '90s jersey. Honestly,
definitely.
Do you just like the collar because of the way that it looks, or just because of the way that it hangs, or both?
Just the way it hangs. I don't mind the way it looks, but when I'm wearing it, the way it goes straight across, it just feels really weird when you're wearing the jersey itself. And the color, I don't know. I like the jersey because it was unique for its time, but when I look at the jersey again, that color probably did not look good on the ice at all. And I'll admit that I haven't watched a lot of old Nashville games, so I haven't really actually seen that. But I'd assume that it'd probably look really bad.
Yeah, whenever I do see any clips of that jersey, I'll make sure to point out to everybody, hey, look at the way it hangs. It's awful.
The other funny thing is that Bpoe was talking about how even when he was a kid, he didn't like the Nashville logo. I was listening back through some old Hockey Jersey Concept podcasts, and I actually listened to the episode where he was explaining that to Ryan for one time. So that's funny that this came up again.
It's a circular podcast. Everything just kind of
everything
goes back to where it began.
Slightly unrelated, but it reminds me of that. I don't know if it was on the same podcast, because I don't remember which one that would have been. But the old Senators logo, the 3D one before their current iteration, also scared me a little bit whenever I was a kid.
Yeah, with it
looked freaky.
The Senegoth, yeah, with the eyeshadow.
Oh boy,
classic Sens logo.
Indeed. Okay, so with Nashville, let's give our thoughts on what would have been ideal, or what they could do or could have done to improve their look.
Honestly, I don't hate their current set. I just feel like something's missing. I'll agree with you guys. The yellow helmets look fantastic. I think they pulled them off really well. One nitpicky thing I don't like about their current set is the shoulder patch only being on one shoulder. I feel like they should just, even it up if you're not going to have anything on the other shoulder. Other than that, I don't know. It just feels like there's something missing from their current home and away jerseys. They simplified them, but they almost did it too much.
Yeah, I think they have a really good foundation with that Reebok Edge set and the current set. But I do agree that the current ones are missing something, even though I don't hate them. The one thing that I do hate about these jerseys is the road jersey has terrible color balancing between the jersey and the equipment. Because when you look at it on the ice, the jersey is just completely yellow, basically, and there's barely any blue on it. And I'm talking about the white one, aside from the white, of course. So it's just basically all yellow. And then the pants and, it's just blue. And there's just such a disconnect there for me. It just bothers me every time I see it. So that road for sure needs some more blue on it. The home works a lot better, but I still think it needs a little bit more going on. And a striping pattern similar to the yellow jersey, that Reebok Edge one, could probably fit them really well, even if it loses that slight meaning from the Tennessee flag. But I don't know if that's a huge deal, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mostly agree with those sentiments because I think they had something really going with that Reebok Edge jersey. Some of the piping, it felt weird, but somehow it looked fine on the ice. They had some good unique striping, and then what they went to with Adidas, I think they did oversimplify it. It still has the similar colors and all that, and but it felt like it lost some of its personality. It just got super basic. All the stripes now are so thin. It's just are they even there? And so those are my thoughts on Nashville. If they had some sort of, if the current jersey and the 2016 jersey had a baby, that'd be fine. We'd be okay with that. But yeah, those are my thoughts.
I know that around the time of the Adidas unveil, a lot of people were ripping on the Nashville jersey for being like a Walmart jersey, and I was one of those people at the time. And honestly, I still agree with that. It still kind of looks like that, even though I don't mind it. Even though I kind of like the yellow jersey, I don't think it's that bad. I can 100% see where that Walmart jersey kind of comparison comes from. And also another thing to mention that's great about these jerseys is something that you don't see on the ice, but that hanger effect with the piano.
Yeah,
it's a great little detail for especially the fans who buy the jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'd be interesting if they found a way to integrate some of the Winter Classic jersey elements. I don't know if any of those would even belong on a primary home and road set, but I know that jersey was pretty popular and it was pretty well received overall. And any thoughts on that?
I know a lot of people seem to want that shoulder patch logo to become the primary for the team. No.
What people are saying that? That thing is terrifying.
I've seen a lot. I know Avi Stein did a concept like that, but I don't know if that's more of I'm doing it because I can rather than I want this to happen. I'm not certain, but that logo, I love it for the context it was used in for the Winter Classic. Perfect. Not a fitting primary logo for the team in 2020. Absolutely not.
Yeah, agreed.
I think that they should use the shoulder patch as a primary logo. No, I'm just kidding. They shouldn't.
I was like, which shoulder patch are you talking about now? Are you doing the guitar pick?
Yeah, just do a third jersey with the guitar pick right dead center, please. That's what I need. I think I said this on our podcast when we talked about the Winter Classic jerseys. I love that shoulder patch. It's not a primary logo though. It's a good faux back logo, and that's about it. So for them to use it in branding on T-shirts and things like that, great. Keep it around for as long as you want. But outside of that, I just don't see it coming back unless they start using a faux backfield jersey as an alternate. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna say there's got to be someone somewhere in the world that wants a full-time mustard cat look or something like that. So there's always going to be crazy people out there.
I mean, there's got to be someone somewhere that wants the Atlanta Thrashers motocross jersey as their primary and a matching white jersey. So, if you're one of them, hit us up on Twitter. I want to hear your thoughts if that's you. Honestly, I want to pick your brain.
Yeah. What happened to you?
Who hurt you?
Who hurt you?
Yeah. Anyway, overall on Nashville, what they have now is definitely better than what they started with. They really own that color scheme now, and I think just a few changes on their current set, and they could be good. I mean, not that they're bad, but it'd be better. That makes sense.
Yep.
All right, awesome. So let's move on to our third and final team for today. The other team that started play in the late '90s, moving over from somewhere in Connecticut. That would be the Carolina Hurricanes. They've always had the same color scheme since they started. There's been some combination of red, black, gray, and white, but they've had a lot of different iterations, a lot of different striping. They've never really been able to stick with anything. So let's get everyone's thoughts on your favorite uniform of the Carolina Hurricanes.
Their current home. It's as simple as that. I love that jersey.
Yeah.
Have I talked about this on the podcast before? I can't remember if we've talked about Carolina on this iteration of the podcast before.
I feel like you're about to tell us.
Let's hear it.
It's just basically what they started with. They've had a very interesting jersey history where they had a great jersey to start with, but, it aged out naturally. And what they switched to was just very bland and boring. But whenever Adidas came around, they just completely fixed everything. They took the best elements of that original jersey and brought it back. They added that black, which balances out things perfectly. The sublimated hurricane flag striping is incredible. It's such a great detail that it's not overdone, but it's there. And even the road jersey now, especially with the sublimated flag striping, I don't hate it. I don't even dislike the other road jersey, but that may be partially because I have some great memories of watching Game 7 against the Caps last year and Brock McGinn scoring that double OT goal. But
that was fun.
Their current home is by far their best jersey they've ever worn. Honestly, I would almost say even if you include the Whalers, but I don't think we're including that one. At least I'm not in this conversation since it's kind of not. It's their jersey, but it's also not in a way.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I'm just gonna stick with that home jersey either way because that one's definitely theirs. You can't argue that.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. I was so happy that they brought that sublimated flag pattern back. I was so mad when they changed their jerseys in 2013 and got rid of the flag pattern altogether, basically, except for their alternate. Yeah, I'd have to agree. That's probably my top jersey for them is their current home.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna agree that their current home is their best jersey. But it's definitely not part of their best set of jerseys. If we're talking sets of jerseys, I honestly, this might be my favorite jersey. I'm torn between the current home and the set from the early 2000s. The jerseys, they won the Stanley Cup in. Because those red jerseys, I really like the unique striping on the hem. That hurricane warning flag is really apparent, but I don't think it detracts from the jersey very much in any way. I liked the number font they had there. It definitely had some personality, it's being slightly italicized. The sleeve striping could have been a little better. They could have if it had matched the hem striping. That might have been interesting. Might have also been too busy. It's hard to say. But I think, the early 2000s jerseys are also a really, really solid one.
Yeah, no, I like the early 2000s ones. I also think Reebok actually did a pretty effective job keeping silver in their color palette when they switched over in 2007. But, I'm kind of glad they got rid of it because, simplifying that to just red, black, and white, it looks really good now.
Yeah. Okay, let's have everyone move on to what your least favorite uniform for the Carolina Hurricanes is.
I'm gonna have to go with that current alternate. I know a lot of people love it, but I don't understand why. It's just boring. The gray shoulders make no sense. Like there's literally no reason to include them. Half the time you can't see them to like tell it apart from black, and when you can't, it has that red phantom yoke, which is not good. And when you can, it just looks out of place. I think black is a boring color for a jersey unless you add a lot of color into it, anyways. And I don't think this one adds enough color to really save it. I don't necessarily mind the striping pattern though, and the heathered pattern. I don't mind that part of it, but it's just that black and that gray shoulder yoke that just don't really go well with for me. I don't think it works too well.
Yeah. I really like the black alternate. I like the original black alternate more than I like their current one. But my least favorite is probably a toss up between their 2013 home jerseys, where they basically switched to the Team Canada pattern and threw a Hurricanes logo on it, or their current away jerseys. Uh, I don't like I don't like the 2007 homes just because they're really boring. I liked the way that the jerseys were before. I don't really like that they tried to simplify it and basically did what Nashville did, but somehow worse and made it really, really boring. Um, and then for their current home jerseys, like they're nice. I'm not a huge fan of the wordmark logo, and just for consistency's sake, I'd like to either see them keep the flag striping on the sleeves or make it different on the bottom, because like the striping is consistently the same size on the arms and on the hem, but they only have the flag striping on the bottom, and it just looks kind of weird to me.
I also am going to say that their worst jersey is the 2013 home jersey that's just all red. The only black on the entire uniform is on the logo and on the collar and on the, I guess, the outline for the numbers, but that's really hardly anything when black, is really one of your main colors. It's still present on your away jersey. It's your whole alternate jersey. And so I'll definitely say that's their worst jersey. Although I will give an honorable mention to their white away jersey used from 2013 to 2019. I never liked this jersey. I don't understand it. It really didn't make sense with any of the other jerseys they wore, aside from the fact that the number font matches and you have the same logo on it. Good job. Um, no, the striping was different from every other jersey they had, and I honestly can't stand it when the red shoulder yoke extends down to the last name. Some teams I think have pulled it off, but that's only because it kept going down the sleeves, and I think it looks okay then. But when it's just on the nameplate and the shoulder yoke, personally, I hate that.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm looking
Yeah,
at
I don't dislike that jersey too much, but there really isn't anything special about it aside from again slightly sentimental memories. I'm not a Canes fan, but I still really enjoyed watching that. I have a whole story, but I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah, I'm looking at that white one now and just seeing the contrast between like the black numbers and the white letters because they brought the shoulder yoke down. Like it looks really weird, but yeah, I don't know. Carolina's been very inconsistent with their jerseys for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Since they switched over to Reebok, like they dumbed it down, and then they took away the flag pattern, and they brought it back, and now they have three different jerseys basically. Still trying to find their way, I guess.
I guess so. All right, everybody, let's give your ideal changes or ideal uniform for these Carolina Hurricanes.
Just give me a white version of their current home. Like, their current home jersey is fantastic. Throw that at me with a white version, and I'm all set. In terms of the black one, I'd have to agree with Bpoe that the gray shoulders kind of get lost in the black jersey. I don't hate black jerseys as much as Bpoe does, though. So I would still keep the black alternate, just change that shoulder yoke up.
Now, I'm not really going to talk much about an ideal home jersey for them because I think they have it really. Maybe fix the collar, that's about it. For the road jersey, I think basically if you combined, like, take the love child of their current one and that previous one, and I think you've got a winner. And actually, the love child of those two plus the current homes. Um, because what I like about the current one is I think the lack of that red shoulder yoke, it has a really clean look to it. I saw the Pens and Hurricanes play not long before COVID-19 shut everything down, and it was in Pittsburgh, of course. So I saw these jerseys in person. They actually look really nice. I wouldn't use that Canes word mark on the road. I'd stick that on the alternate if you're going to use it anywhere. So I'd put the primary logo there. The other idea that I think would be great for that road jersey is basically, a color swap version of the home jersey. And if you go on my Instagram at BPC Design, you have to scroll a little bit back. But actually, over a year ago now, last year, I made a swap of that, and you take basically their home jersey template. You take the black and you make it red. You take the red and you make it white, and you take that like flag pattern stripe area and you make it black. And then I kept the shoulder yoke on it. But I honestly would love to see them do that as their road jersey too. And this was also at the time where there was just speculation that, hey, they're going to change up their road jersey. So I figured I'd take a crack at it. And it's not the furthest off from what they have, but I don't know if anybody expected that Canes word mark.
No, I don't think anybody really did. Yeah, I'm definitely not opposed to either of those ideas. I think I just want them to go back to having consistent striping between their home and their away. They haven't had that for 7 or 8 years at least. And even when they did have it, the rest of the jersey wasn't that great. Another change I wouldn't mind them making. I wouldn't mind seeing a number font change. Not necessarily going back to what they had in the 2000s, but something a little closer to that, something a little more unique, something with a little more personality. I think that could benefit them a lot. And yeah.
There's a part of me that agrees with you, but another part of me is like, well, for one, I honestly think this is a fairly unique font in terms of the NHL, because not too many teams use rounded ones like this. The only other one that I can think of is Arizona off the top of my head, and they have like their own kind of twist on the rounded font. But for two, I'm trying to think of what else would look good on here, because I almost think that a block font might not look great on here.
No, I agree with that, but we keep talking about hybrids and things having babies. Their current number fonts somehow looked a little bit more like what they had in the 2000s. I feel like that one had a lot of personality. I'm not sure if it would work very well in today's NHL and not look outdated. But maybe it's moving in that direction a tiny bit.
Quarantine really must be getting to us if having babies is what's on our mind.
Just hockey ones, hockey jersey babies. Sounds like a new podcast. Oh gosh, let's not do that. Oh boy.
The Jersey Nerds podcast presents the Love Child podcast.
Oh, we've gone off the rails here. Okay, so I don't know. My final thoughts on the Carolina Hurricanes. The franchise that preceded them had a good history, but they've kind of created their own brand, their own history, and they've done a pretty good job of it. Especially in recent years, they've really done that. And I think now overall they've had some solid looks. They've just been plagued by a lot of inconsistency, changing things every few years, usually with no good reason. And they've never quite nailed it down. I mean, I think we agree they've nailed down their home jersey now, but everything else is kind of just it's almost there, but not quite.
If they ever change that home jersey, I riot.
That's
I don't
fair.
know if you guys are with me, but if they change that thing,
might as well.
I mean, a riot.
When we're allowed to riot again, if that happens, then.
Yeah, if they're gonna change it, do it now before everybody can riot.
Here's the thing, though.
Don't give them ideas.
Here's the thing that I hate to say, though. I don't know if everybody else loves this jersey as much as we do.
We got to spread the word.
Yeah, let the people.
I don't know. I really don't know what public opinion on that jersey is, because I know that everybody loves that black jersey. Because, like, if you look, I know they recently posted, like, one of those grids of, like, 9 jerseys, like, hey, pick 3. And God knows everybody was picking that black one. But the red one's kind of interspersed there, but not everybody's picking it, So I don't know where people stand on that. I don't know if it's like they like it or if they dislike it or what.
Yeah, it's funny. Remember when that jersey was unveiled? I remember I sent a picture of it to another friend of mine who was a hockey fan. He's like, "Is this Chicago?" And I'm like, "No, this is Carolina. Chicago's not going to do that." But yeah, when it was unveiled, I was like super skeptical about it because I'm like, "Why are you using a dark gray when you have black too? It doesn't make any sense." But I can't lie in saying that I like how that black alternate looks on the ice. I don't know why it works. I really can't explain it, but I do enjoy it overall. But yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I thought you were talking about the red jersey whenever you were given that story, and I was
No,
like,
when they unveiled the black
okay.
alternate, excuse me.
See, I was like, I can see how you can think that might be Chicago, like especially if you're not much of a fan. But like, I still don't really think that's a valid point. Like I can see it from a very casual standpoint, but no. But
No,
the black one, what?
Yeah, right. I don't even know what was going on that day. But yeah, it was definitely a departure from anything they'd ever done before. I mean, aside from the other black jerseys, just the the striping and all that was different. And so I don't hate the black alternate. It's not it's probably not the best thing. But yeah, we agree that we will riot if that red home jersey is changed, and everybody out there get on board.
And let's hope we don't have to do that.
Indeed, we're hoping for the best in these troubled times. Okay, I think that was a pretty successful rundown of those NHL teams, and so we'll spend a couple minutes talking about a completely different sport. We'll go to the National Football League, and we'll talk about a couple of the recent uniform unveilings that have happened. First one we'll talk about is that of the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns essentially have de-Nike'd in a way, because they had basically the same look for almost all of their history. A pretty traditional look until 2015, when they unveiled just a whole slate of new jerseys. They had a brown jersey with orange numbers and a white drop shadow. All of their pants had half a stripe and then the word Browns running down the leg. It was not a welcome change, but it was one that they have been stuck with ever since they made it. And so now their current, recently unveiled uniforms are overall mostly a return to what they had before. A couple of the key differences would be that they have a new number font. Most people aren't going to notice that, but it's a new custom number font. And the owner of the Browns, I remember saying, they unveiled the uniforms without any orange pants, but apparently fans want them, so the owner said he's going to try to find a way to do that. They've got their brown home jersey with white pants, their white away jersey with brown pants, an all-white look, as well as their color rush look, which is all brown with orange numbers and no stripes on the sleeves. So just some quick general thoughts, what you guys think of the move they've made here.
I know before, I don't know if it's been on the podcast or not, like on this iteration, but I've kind of lambasted just like, bringing back throwbacks for the sake of it because it's a trend. But if the type of innovation you're going to do is what the Browns did with that last set, yeah, I'd bring back the throwback here, because this thing is infinitely better. And honestly, if they only had that one blip in their history, might as well just fix things instead of trying something new again, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. You want your team to look like the team. You want the Cleveland Browns to look like the Cleveland Browns, and they do again. There's a couple changes here and there, a couple things that were cleaned up. Personally, I think they've now got a set that could last them a while. Hunter, quick thoughts?
I like the newer set compared to their Nike set. Just looking at it quickly, I'd have to say that, yeah, I didn't really like the way the drop shadow looks on the old jerseys. Looking at what we got here, I'd almost say this brown setup that they got going with the brown jersey and the white pants, I don't know, maybe that would be a good place to start throwing in the orange pants, change the socks. I know that they had an option where they had the brown socks, but I don't know if it looks like they carried it over. So brown socks with the striping and then orange pants instead of the white ones. I think that might actually look pretty good. But overall, it's a lot cleaner with just no drop shadow on the numbers. And yeah, sometimes if you know what works, you just have to go back to it. You can't keep trying to innovate, right?
Definitely, yeah. And we'll probably touch on, the connection between how successful a team is and how their uniforms are in a minute. But it's worth noting that these Cleveland Browns were absolutely terrible wearing these jerseys, including a winless season, 0-16 in 2017, which is just amazing. I think with these jerseys, it got to the point where last year, I think they requested special permission to make their brown and orange color rush jersey their primary home, just because people hated the orange drop shadow numbers on the brown jersey so much. And so I think everyone would agree, a welcome change. I'm glad they cleaned up a couple things here and there, made it a little more personal, the custom number fonts and all that. But overall, I think we can agree this is a good move.
Is it bad that I thought they had more winless seasons than just one?
Yes,
I don't follow football at all. I just know that the Browns have been historically terrible.
I think they had a 1-win season in there somewhere.
Yeah, the 2016 season they were 1-15, and then 2017 they went 0-16.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, there have only been 2 winless seasons in history: the 2008 Detroit Lions and the one of the Cleveland Browns teams the past years, like 2017 maybe. Anywho, yeah, this is definitely an improvement for them. So going on to the next team that unveiled new uniforms, which is the New England Patriots, a team that's had basically the same look for the last 20 years, and it's been associated with a lot of success for them. And so basically what they've done is they've taken their color rush jersey, promoted it to the home jersey, and also unveiled an away version of that. Couple subtle changes. They changed their number font. It's a little bit more of a traditional block. Most people aren't going to notice that much. Their defining thing is these UCLA-style stripes on the shoulders. I think the socks have changed a little bit as well. Helmet and face mask, that all stays the same. And one interesting note with these uniforms is that when they were unveiled with the wrong pants on them. The pants shown in the unveiling have a really thick, wide stripe, which is what they used on the Color Rush uniform last year. But on the actual set that they're going to be wearing whenever football starts again, the pant stripes match the width of the shoulder stripes. So, the uniform might have been a little more poorly received and it actually because they didn't unveil the right thing in a way, which is, I think that's pretty embarrassing. But yeah, general thoughts on what they've unveiled versus what they've had the last 20 years and 6 Super Bowls?
I like the new set. I think that the improved striping on the pants, or having the striping match the pants, is going to look a lot better than the ones that they unveiled. I think the only thing I don't like about it is just now that the pants aren't silver, it feels like there's a bit of a disconnect between the helmet and the rest of the uniform. I was never really a huge fan of the silver pants on their old uniforms anyways, but I feel like the helmet's kind of disconnected from the rest of the uniform, other than like there's a little bit of, they put silver in the numbers, but outside of that, they don't really have a ton else going on here.
Now that you mention that, I definitely agree. I do think this is an improvement, but it's not perfect. For one, I honestly wish they would have kept the old number font, because I don't think there's anything wrong with that, and it was kind of uniquely Patriots, I mean, the closest comparison I can think of is that Oilers steel drop font, and even then, it's not the same font, I think that one had a bit of, Patriots charm to it, and I don't really think there was a reason to change.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with the pants that, I think that they definitely need on that blue jersey. They need contrasting pants, because I don't really like the way that the, solid blue look works here. I think it looks a lot better on the white jersey, since you do have contrasting pants, but whether you go silver or like silver to match the helmet or like white pants on that blue one, I think it needs something different pants wise. I don't dislike the silver pants the way that Hunter said he does, but there's just something missing with these things, I think. And I think it's the pants.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think this whole set would look better with silver pants. And looking back at what they had the last 20 years, I can't. I mean, I can stand it, but there's so many little details I hated about their away uniform before. Because what they used to have was the white jersey with navy pants, and the striping on the navy pants didn't match anything. The socks had three stripes on them for really no reason. I guess there was just a really bad color balance in their away uniform before. Their home jersey had better color balance for sure, a better look to it. I think they had an opportunity to really take those and to refine them, clean them up, which they did in a way, but not in a good way. Because I think the navy pants now, especially with the socks that are they're mostly navy, but then they have a red stripe and they go into white on the bottom. I don't think that's a very good look personally, and I agree with Bpoe in that the number font, it really didn't need to change, because people have associated a certain look with the Patriots over the last 20 years, and they've been successful during that. And so, I mean, fans were clamoring for the return of the throwbacks, the white helmets with the red jersey and all that. So I kind of respect the organization for not going that direction. They're like, no, we're keeping most of what we had, but just changing a few things. But I'm not sure if they really changed the right things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was say they don't have a bad uniform, but just it felt like a bunch of unnecessary changes.
I think I can agree with that, even though I like it. And also, now that you mentioned the stripes on their old pants, the blue pants on the road jersey, right? They wear white on the road too. It reminds me of the Blue Jackets, honestly.
Yes, you're right about that. It's a good comparison.
I was like, that looks like the Blue Jackets striping. Although I think the red and white are flipped on that one.
Yeah, I think you're right there, but yeah, still, they're just a lot of nonsensical things that they had on their old set, and their new sets, it's less nonsensical, but it still feels kind of off, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I've also got to wonder, how did they manage to unveil a set with the wrong pants? Because did they ever wear that style of pants? Like, was that their old Color Rush pant style?
I believe that was their old Color Rush pant style, and I guess whoever was taking the photos just couldn't get their hands on the new pants with all this pandemic stuff happening. No matter how that happened, it's definitely not a good look for the organization.
So the only other thing that I would think of if it wasn't the old Color Rush pant style is that it was like one of their prototypes for the new design.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, so they changed just enough to call it a change, especially on the shoulders, definitely the most significant change. But I feel like most people, most casual people aren't even going to notice a difference. Yeah. Okay, and let's move on to our final NFL team to discuss. That would be the Los Angeles Chargers, who have unveiled 6 new uniform combinations. No, not that they had bad uniforms before, but they've definitely really changed them up here. They've got an italicized number font. All the helmets are white with the helmet number from the old AFL days returning. Yellow face mask. They've got the powder blue jersey as their primary, with white pants and yellow pants as options. The white jersey with white pants and yellow pants other options, and 2 different color rush uniforms. One that's all royal blue, and another that's all navy blue. So just quick initial thoughts on this unveiling.
I've told Chris before, as a casual NFL fan, the Chargers jerseys have always been a favorite of mine. They're just a jersey that's always kind of stuck out with their branding and the powder blue color. Just something that always caught my eye. With the new set, I really like it. I'm not a huge fan of the numbers on the helmets from with the throwback to the AFL days. I can see why they did it, but I personally am just not a huge fan. The biggest thing I like that they've improved on from their old set, though, is that they got rid of the white striping behind the lightning bolts on the pants and on the shoulders. And I think that looks so much better.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with that. Like, I think the Chargers absolutely nailed it with this because it's not a complete shakeup, but they just evolved their brand the way that it should over time. They cleaned up that logo and now they cleaned up the uniforms and it looks great. I kind of have to agree on the helmet numbers. I'm not really sure where I stand on that, but I'm leaning towards the not a huge fan of it. And the other thing that I don't like about this set, though, is well, for one, the home and road set are beautiful. I think my least favorite set of that would have to be the white on white, but even that one still looks pretty good to me. So honestly, any of those 4 jersey pan options are fine in my books, but I don't understand the alternates. Like, the home and away set is powder blue, yellow, and white, and that's it. But then for some reason, you have one royal blue alternate and one navy blue one. I can understand having one or the other, but both of them? I don't really understand that.
Yeah, I think that's a thing a lot of people question because they had a all royal blue color rush in a couple of years past, and navy was their primary color before. But I do find it interesting that they didn't just completely eliminate those from their arsenal or from their because navy blue's been in a way eradicated from their color scheme, except it still remains as an alternate now. But overall, I think they did a good job really embracing a lot of different parts of their history. Like, I'm not opposed to the helmet number. If you could do it back then, why can't you do it now? Kind of idea. I'm not a huge fan of the yellow gold pants. I feel like it kind of throws those uniform sets off a little bit. I think they'd be fine with just the white pants, but I'm sure some fan vote or something would bring back the yellow pants anyway. So who cares on that? But yeah, really really interesting to go with 6 combinations and to have all these different options for them. It'll be really interesting to see how this looks, on a field. Remember when this was unveiled, I thought, the number font was a little too plain, a little too boring, because what they had before was, really unique and really felt pretty nice. Part of me thought what they would do was just not really change much, just take the current set they had, but change all the navy to powder blue and just say, oh, these are our jerseys now, because they did make the powder blue their home like the last year or so. But I guess that ended up being just foreshadowing to a complete change. It's definitely a simplification. It feels kind of timeless in a way, but also kind of forward moving. And yeah, that's what I have to say about those. Overall, I think they're good.
Yeah, I will say the 2 alternates, they are a bit of a shake up compared to the rest of it. But I really like the way the navy blue one looks. I just don't like that they used the white helmets on the 2 alternates. Like, I get that they were trying to keep that consistent throughout the whole set, but I feel like if you're going to go with a colored helmet on any of the uniforms, these 2 alternates need to have some color on the helmets, because the white just seems, it's like the Patriots uniforms. They just don't connect with the rest of the uniform to me.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that point. Unfortunately, the way the NFL has it now is they have the one shell rule, which means they're only allowed to have one color of helmet base. So, I know teams include like the Patriots and the Buccaneers said, yeah, we will have a throwback alternate uniform as soon as the NFL allows us to have a different colored helmet. Yeah, so those 2 alternates are they're trying to carry over some of what they had from years past. Personally, I think the all navy is my least favorite out of all these combinations, because it does feel very disconnected from the rest of the set, especially with the color of the bolts on the helmet being navy instead of gold, instead of yellow now.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels very, very dark. I think I saw somebody online ask, is this going to look like a completely black uniform on the field? But it's hard to say until we see it out there. Yeah, but
See,
overall,
on those alternates too. Sorry.
no, please go.
If I had to keep one of the two, I'd honestly keep the Navy one, because whenever I look at those two, and again, I'm a very casual like outsider view of this. Um, the Navy one to me looks Chargers, because the Chargers have had navy blue for a while, but that royal blue one honestly looks like almost more Rams to me than Chargers. You know what I mean? It just doesn't look as Chargers to me, because I'm not accustomed to seeing them in royal blue. You
Yeah,
know?
you're completely right. I think what they were going for is they've had a all royal blue color rush the past couple of years, and I guess fans liked it enough to where they'd said, "Oh, we don't want to completely get rid of this." But at the same time, you've got three different blues throughout all your uniforms. It's good that they made the powder blue the primary. That was definitely the best move they could have made. I think that powder blue jersey with the white pants might be the best combination in the league at this point, and even though we haven't seen it on the field. But just from what we've seen before, it's pretty close to the the AFL days and their the powder blue alternate they had before. But yeah, definitely an interesting decision to keep all those different colors in their set.
It seems like they know exactly what they're doing when it comes to the primary home and away, and then they just have like a slight identity crisis whenever it comes to the alternates.
Yeah.
I definitely think they overall succeeded in trying to really take all of their uniform history and to try to consolidate it while also moving it forward. So they wanted to take some element from every part of their history, is what I'm assuming, because they did have a royal blue home jersey at one point. It was through the 70s that they had that. Of course, they still had a navy helmet during that, which I don't know what was going on back then. But they definitely cleaned it up now, because like I've said, they didn't have a bad look through these last 15 years or however long they had the last set. But this is definitely an improvement to that.
So have the Chargers had more royal blue in their history than I thought they did?
Maybe a tiny bit. I'm with you in that it's definitely not very memorable. Like, that's not an era you remember. Like, I feel like if you're a Chargers fan, or an NFL fan, you're aware of the original powder blue AFL, and you're aware of the just navy blue era of the 90s and early 2000s. And you're aware of what they currently have. But I think that royal blue and navy era with yellow pants kind of gets forgotten.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty happy about that, because honestly, I can't stand the yellow pants on that uniform. Every time I see a video, they had gosh, I don't remember what year, some miraculous playoff game against Miami back in the 70s. I really can't remember what year that was. But I cringe every time I see those uniforms, like in game footage. Personally,
it looks like they had carried those royal blue jerseys from about 74 up until like 88, and then that's when they fully made the change over to the navy.
But, yeah, so I respect them trying to keep some of their history, try to keep what fans have liked the past couple of years. But it is kind of a lot to handle, a lot to deal with. I'm going to be interested to see how the yellow pants actually look on the field, because people seem to like them, but I mean, if I hated it before, am I going to hate it now? Guess we'll find out. Yeah, any last overall thoughts on any of these recent NFL unveilings? And any thing looking ahead? The only team left to unveil a uniform are the Los Angeles Rams. And I'm kind of terrified about what they're going to come out with.
Yeah, that logo reveal didn't go over very well, so I'm hoping that they can kind of redeem themselves a little bit with those jerseys.
Mm-hmm. That logo it's definitely grown on me. Like it works at small scale and on the scorebug and all that, and they definitely got the colors right. Those are the colors that fans wanted, and that's the colors they got. It'll just be really interesting to see what they choose to do, because the logos have gradients in them, and some people are worried, they're going to be gradients on the uniform, and so yeah.
That's what I was about to jokingly say. I was about to be like, just take the current Ram. I think it's their current one with the horn striping on both the jersey and the helmet, and just stick a gradient in there.
Yeah, they might do that. They've had to wear their throwback jersey as a home primary just because their jersey sets don't match anymore. Because a couple years ago they changed the horns in their helmets to white and all that, and it looked okay on the away jersey, but on their Navy home jersey with gold numbers, it was just the worst thing ever. And so they've really had an identity crisis since moving to Los Angeles, not really knowing who they are or what they want to be. And so they've had time to get it right, and we'll definitely discuss on the podcast if they did get it right whenever they do choose to unveil that.
Honestly, for them, I think a great uniform for them would be your concept, Chris, for it. And I don't know where you have it posted aside from Behance here that I'm looking at. I saw it a while back, but I just remembered it again. So I'm looking at it now. And I honestly think that would be a great set for them. Even, I don't know if you did this before their logo unveil. I believe you did, right?
Yes, there was a uniform concept that I had created before their unveil. It looked like they were going to go with a navy and yellow color scheme at that point, but they ended up going, thankfully, with the royal and yellow, which is definitely a better color scheme. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they choose to combine a bunch of different eras, or there's a chance they end up just unveiling the throwbacks with a couple tweaks. They really could go a lot of directions. It could be something completely Nike-esque, like the Browns and the Jacksonville Jaguars unveiled, in the mid 2010s, where everyone's just like, "Oh gosh, what is that thing?" So I don't know if you guys remember the Jaguars when they
bring back the gradient helmet,
gradient helmet, the two-tone gradient helmet. Oh gosh,
the gradient helmet is what I remember.
I am terrified of that happening, but we'll see what that that team, what Nike, what the Rams have put together whenever they choose to unveil it. I've heard they're trying to find a way to unveil it to make it what they wanted, because initially they were going to do some huge fan events and it was going to be maybe at the stadium that they're building, and it was a ton of people there. Of course they can't have any people now, so I think they're just trying to find the right way to do it, probably without everybody blowing up their mentions all the time and saying, change it, destroy it, burn it. So yeah, best of luck to them. They've got their work cut out for them.
I think I'd rather them take a little bit longer to do it and do it right than, just kind of rush it,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got the time right now. Make sure you use it effectively, right? I will say, though, with the Rams jerseys from this past season, I really like the simplified, version that they have, just straight up blue and the yellow versions. But that one helmet rule, which I had no idea existed until right now, really kills that royal blue jersey for me.
Believe it or not, that's actually historically accurate to the throwback.
Really?
Yes.
They always had the navy blue helmets on top of that?
Yes.
That's wild. I don't like it. I don't like that at all, but hey, if it's accurate and the fans like it, then go for it. But
yeah, it'll be interesting if they choose to keep navy in their color scheme at all, and maybe in a similar way to what the Chargers did, or if it'll be completely gone.
Yeah. The other thing I'll say is I don't like those navy blue and white horn helmets at all. I think those look awful.
Yeah, I'm really not sure why they did that, because in St. Louis through all that time they had gold horns on the helmets, and after 1 year in LA they're like, oh, we're gonna be ourselves, we're gonna be different, we're gonna go back to white helmets on the horn like we had in the 60s or whatever.
Look at how different we are.
Yeah, right. And like I said before, it was in 2017. I think it was a game against the Cowboys, and I think one other game where they had to wear the navy jerseys with gold numbers with the white pants and the white horns on the helmet and the white face mask, and it was just the worst looking combination you've ever seen.
Oh yeah, I see it here.
Yeah, so whatever they unveil, we're praying it will be as good as, if not better than, the throwbacks. Like I said, with the logos unveiling, people are worried about a more modern look. But we'll definitely talk about that on the podcast when those uniforms are unveiled, whenever that may be.
I honestly still think your concept, Chris, would be a really nice set for them, and make it royal now that the logo's been unveiled.
Yeah, stop plugging that. We'll get to that when it happens.
You guys hear that?
We're speculating, so it might as well, right?
Did you guys
Yeah,
hear
might
that?
as well.
Did you guys hear that Chris has a new a Los Angeles Rams concept out? It's really good. Go look at it.
It's not even new. Gosh, that came out in January. Anywho, this has been a good one today. It's been a good long one. Had a lot to talk about. I'm assuming on the next one we will probably continue our NHL Team Rundown, go through the next teams, probably some early 90s ones, considering we're in the mid-90s now. So that'll be fun to go through a few more franchises. If any other news happens, uniform related, we'll make sure to discuss that. And yeah, this has been a good one. And thanks, Hunter and Bpoe, for joining today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And everyone stay safe, stay healthy, continue social distancing despite some things maybe starting to open up somewhere. Just continue to stay safe and stay healthy, and we'll see you next time.
Later, guys.
Duh, duh, duh. There we go. There's the outro music.
Our new ending theme.
It's actually not new. That's the original Church Nerds podcast outro music.
Oh,
we're keeping all this in there. All this is staying.
And now for the real ending.